Hello, fellow ASLers and desert terrain aficionados. Brevity Assault showed up today, fresh from Italy. Actually, it showed up yesterday. Thought I'd do a quick unboxing and show you or discuss a little bit about the operational side of the game. I skimmed through the rules real quick. I opened it already, took the plastic wrap off, and skimmed through the operational rules real quick to see, just get an idea of how it plays out. I think it's very interesting, and I'll go through that in a minute. But first, I'm just going to go through the maps and the four, 5, 6 scenarios that come with it. I can't remember exactly how many there are. So here's the box that came in. I also got Biazza Ridge, and I'll do a video for that later, but I thought I'd start with Brevity Assault because it has the interesting operational side to it. So let me just take all of this out. Set that aside. So first off, we've got the basically cover sheet. And I'll set aside, this is the operational map. If I can unfold it. And I'll come back to this in a minute as well. So you've got here 21 pages, 23, 24 pages of rules, covering both just general rules for the scenarios and the brevity operation itself, the rules for that and the scenarios, and the operational part of it. So it's got a nice layout. It's got the typical, ASL historical type layout where you've got your logo and color on the top. It's not punched. You'll have to punch it yourself, or you can place it in sleeves and put it in a notebook if that's the way you like to go. But it's nice color. It's got typical numbered sections for the rules, examples of play, tables, more examples. So this is most of the rules cover the campaign game, the operational level of Brevity Assault, and the minority of the rules cover things like terrain and vehicle notes. And there are some vehicle notes at the end. Here, the actual beginning of the campaign game outlining. There's 3 campaign games here. 1, 2, 3. I'll go through those in a minute. Here's some vehicle notes. British, Commonwealth, and German. Brevity Assault is basically Commonwealth versus the Germans. Commonwealth primarily being British and Australian, and the Axis side, I shouldn't say just Germany because it's a mixture of German and Italian forces, taking place on the border between Egypt and Libya. It also has an index, which is nice, and then it's got some tables here: fuel availability for the operational side of it, and off-board artillery availability as well. So those are the rules. Let me set those aside. Now we're getting into the operational part. Let me find the scenarios. They're back here. Yeah. So here are the scenarios that come with it. Completely independent from the operational campaign game. You've got, oops, I'm getting these all mixed up. You've got 6 scenarios. That's what it is. So, good morning at Halfaya. It's on the southern map, and it should be noted that there's 3 historical maps in this. Halfaya South, Halfaya North, and I think it's Salam, the village. Yeah, Salam here. So you've got 6 scenarios. They aren't overly long, probably in the 6 to 8 turn range. It's all desert terrain, of course, but the historical maps do have quite a bit of geography in them. This one is made up of just stock ASL desert terrain maps, map boards with a bunch of overlays. This one uses a historic map, and I should note, I think I meant to speak to this before, the north and the south maps. I'll post a picture. I'll embed a picture of this in the video, but they actually do butt up and line up to make one massive map, but there is no scenario that uses both maps butted up, because it makes an actually quite a large map. This scenario uses Solom map, 8 turns, 8 turns, 8 turns. Most of them are 8 turns. I thought there was a 6 turn. Oh, here's a 9.5 turn here, and I thought there was a 6 turn. But they're not overly long. Decent sized as far as forces go, but the length of them is not quite long. This one looks like it's mostly an armor shootout here. Hafid Ridge Ride. And that's it for the basic scenarios. And then you've got, supplied with this, you've got 6 overlays. Some generic overlays, and you've got Fort Capuzzo overlay that comes with it. The rest of the scenarios would use your standard out-of-the-box ASL desert terrain overlays. So if you don't have probably Hollow Legions and West of Alamein, or for King and Country, whichever one you have, you probably won't be able to play most of the scenarios or the operational scenarios, which I'll go over here in a minute, because I'm sure that they use those overlays quite copiously. So let's pop out the maps real quick. You'll only be able to see, let me set this aside, you'll only be able to see parts of these maps because they're pretty good size, and I can't zoom out with the camera setup I've got here. But this is the Halfia South map, and I'll try to just kind of pan it around. The map, the printed weight of the paper is a little thinner than I expected. It's not bad, you know, and if you play and you place it under plexiglass, it'll be just fine. But maybe in their next 2 modules, they might consider printing on a little thicker weight. But the maps look nice. Printing quality is good. Good graphics. Let me see if I can scroll over a little bit and around so you can see some of the Halfia South map. And the North map would butt up right on this side. And it would show the whole of the Halfia Pass going this direction here. Okay, let me see if I can find the other Halfia map. This is it here. Let me flip it so I would show you where it would connect up with the map I just showed. So this is the north map. The south map that I just showed would butt up on this side. And you can see there's the road coming through the pass and down there. Again, nice map. It'd be cool if they had one huge monster campaign game that took place on both of these maps. But I understand the way they did it with the operational level, which is a new and interesting way to do a campaign game, and I'll get into that in a minute. So there's that. And some of the locations, the main locations in the operational level, take place on the historical maps. So some of the 6 scenarios take place on the historical maps, and some of the operational level main locations are played on these if you happen to have an encounter or a combat situation in those locations. So this is the Solum. Let me just flip it. Basically a very small village on the Mediterranean. I think it's on the Egypt side of the border. Pretty sure it's in Egypt. I'm making a mess on this desk here. Just pan around. Wish I had a better way to zoom out. But yeah, the maps look nice. Only good color. The only drawback is the weight of the paper. I wish it was a little thicker. So you need to be a little ginger when folding these up. So those are the 3 maps, historical maps that come with it. Let's jump into the, well no, let's go to the counters next. There are like 1 3/4 sheets of counters here. And it looks like they were punched backwards. It's not that big of a deal to me. Once they're actually punched out and trimmed, you probably won't even be able to tell. It's not that big of a deal. But the graphics look nice. I don't know, let's see. They do have a gloss finish, which I don't think I've ever had any counters that have a high gloss finish. It looks kind of cool. They should probably hold up well. But I haven't punched any of these. But they look good. They have good color, good clarity. And now most of these are operational level units. There are some special units with vehicle notes as well. I guess tactical level units, ASL level units, and then there's operational level units mixed in here as well. How close can this camera get? And then the rest of these are basically operational level informational counters on if you're in combat play, if you've played combat, if units are reduced, refueling, entry points on maps that are locations on the operational level map that I'll show you here in a minute. Things like that. So informational counters, operational level, and a few sprinkling of tactical level, traditional ASL type of counters as well. So the heart of this game is a Brevity Assault is the operational level, which is the heart of the campaign game. There are no typical campaign game. You've got many dates depending on what campaign game you're playing. You know, you could have 6 to 12 or more dates. Then in between dates you have refit phases, and then you usually draw control areas or setup areas, and spend campaign purchase points to buy new units, and then you reset up, and you play the next campaign game date. In Brevity Assault, that mechanic is not used at all. Basically, you've got an operational map, which is a war game level map above the ASL level that we're all used to. And each of these, there are major locations, which are the large circles. There are, I forget, smaller locations or secondary locations, which are the small circles. And basically on the southern part here, which is the Egyptian side, I assume, southern, you've got the Commonwealth setup areas, primarily British and Australian. And then on the north here, you've got the Axis setup areas, primarily pretty much German and Italian. Now these major strategic locations in red or orange are basically the things that you're trying to capture. And by capturing these, you get victory points. You can also get victory points for eliminating units over a certain amount. I'm trying to remember. But at the end of the campaign game, the big campaign game is 18 dates. That's campaign game 1. Played over 2 days. It's split into 2 rounds of 9 in each day. And during each campaign date, you move operational level units on this operational map. Now, moving operational units on the operational map, they actually have, depending on the type of unit, whether they're tracked, fully tracked, I forget the table, on foot. Let's see if I can find that table. bear with me a sec. Yeah, here it is. Wheeled, tracked, wheeled with gun if you're towing, slow tracked, non-motorized. You basically get operational movement points, OMP, for those type of units. And then depending on what type of road you go down, each location you move into will cost that unit a certain amount of operational movement points to enter. So as you move around the operational map with your units, and a stack of units can only move as fast as the slowest unit as well, I believe. As you move around, you can encounter enemy units in different locations. And when you encounter an enemy unit in a location, whether it's a major location or a secondary location, there's a chance for combat to occur. Now, I believe there's some sort of initiative process, and you can withdraw as well. It's a little bit like close combat. There's concealment at this level as well. I think it's called cloaking. I think there's initiative and withdrawal. But once combat has been established in a certain point, as you move your units and try to either capture or hold these major locations, you go to the combat phase. So in the operational level of the game, there are two phases for each date. There's the movement phase where both sides move everything, and when combat has been established, you put a combat counter on it. I forget what the counter was called. It's like combat starter, combat engage, something like that. You mark them all, and then once the movement phase is all over, you do the combat phase. Now, there's two ways to do combat. You can play it out in an actual ASL scenario. You basically convert the operational units to tactical level ASL units, and you play on a actual ASL layout, and I'll show you what that looks like. Or you can do a simplified version, which the rules don't recommend because it's not as balanced as playing out a full ASL scenario. And that has it has a different table for resolution. I can't remember exactly where it is in the rules. Yeah, here it is. Alternative operational combat die roll modifiers. So there's a section for alternative combat resolution. If you don't want to go from the operational level at each location where there's combat and zoom down to the ASL level and play out an ASL scenario, you can do it. You can do an operational combat level resolution instead. So once you have combat at a certain point, let's say we have combat in Salam, which is major location number 9. What you do is come to these sheets here, not those, these here. These are your historical map charts. Basically, for locations 1 through, I think there was 19. Yeah, 19. CD Omar is the last location. So here's 1 through 7. Or no, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Salam is number 9. You find that. Number 9. And it basically shows you the map you need to play on. So in this case, it's the historical map Salam, right here. It shows you that it's got setup placement. It shows you, so we're at Salam 9. It shows you where entry points would be. So if your units moved up this road, which is a major road, there's a road, good road, poor road. If you moved units up this major road, your units would enter basically from Hafaya North 18, coming from this direction. So you'd come in here, and other units that had come into it would probably come in from Musayed 8 from this direction. So and then it shows you all the overlays, if there are any. There are none on this historical map. And then any special fortifications and whatnot. Let's look at if you came in on, say, Redato Capuzzo 7, location 7. Here's the map set up. It shows you roads, major roads, secondary roads or tracks, and trenches. I don't think there's a trench on this board. And then all the overlays that you would set up. And then the entry points, depending on where your operational units came from. So it's got that for all 19 of these points. So it shows you how to set up. If you haven't, you're going to have a battle at each either major location or secondary location. How to set up the maps, how to set up the overlays, where units will come in depending on where they came from, any fortifications, that sort of thing. And then once you do that, you convert your, sorry, I'm jumping all over here. You convert your operation level units to tactical level units. So if you had, say the British had, or the Commonwealth, or Australian in this case, had these operation level units. I'm sorry, it's going backwards. No, that's right. Operational force units. This is what it would convert to at ASL units from a tactical point of view. 3 of these. If you had this light tank squadron, it would convert into basically these level of ASL counters. You've even got air support. So here's all the tables that you use to convert operational units down to ASL units to play at these locations on the map setups I just showed. So as you can see, at least in my opinion, that anyone who is a desert terrain junkie would probably love this campaign game, because it looks like you're battling all through this Egyptian, Libyan coastal area, trying to secure these either historical locations, small towns, or small village, or these other strategic points to gather enough victory points to win at the end of the 18 campaign game dates. You also have offboard artillery support. You've got air support coming in on certain dates. So it looks like it could be a really epic and fun battle if you love the desert theater of operations. So lots of pages of operational tactical unit conversions. It's got point values that you can use that can be converted. If you eliminate enemy units, you get points towards your victory. I don't remember the exact rules for it. Now, to start the game, you get an initial order of battle, and that is order of battle. Let's see. No, that's not it. For the campaign games, each campaign, there we go. It's at the end of all the map sections here. Here we go. So here's for campaign game, well, this is for campaign game 3. Let me see if I can find one. There we go. So for the campaign game 1, these are the operational units that you get to start for both the Allied and Axis side, and it tells you where to set them up, operational level. Some of them will set up in areas, especially the Axis side. They'll be set up in certain areas. The Allied, let's see. Yeah, the Allies usually come in, or I haven't looked. Maybe they come in on all of the staging areas. So, for example, these units for the desert group for Australian would start in staging area A down here. on turn one. On turn two, yeah, these guys would stage in area A. On turn three, these guys would stage into area A. Or on date 3, they would stage. So this will tell you the date they stage, where they stage, whether it's a staging area, one of these green boxes, or like I showed you a minute ago, whether they are posted or put in an actual location, like a garrison. So these are all your starting orders of battle, operational orders of battle for the 3 campaign games. Campaign game 3, which is the whole shebang, the whole map, operational map. Campaign game 2, I think, is about half of this, and it's only in this coastal area right in here. Then the campaign game 3, I think, is the rest of it. It doesn't include this coastal area, but it's the rest of this, and it's about 8 turns, I think. But yeah, there's three campaign games. So I might have rushed through it, but I just skimmed the operational rules. But I think it's a very interesting concept to take an operational level map and condense those, have combat, or at least engage in combat, and boil those down to an encounter and ASL units that play out on 19 different maps that are set up for you, either historical or using ASL boards. DTO junkies would love this, I think. Hopefully it's well balanced. They posted quite a bit of playtesting screenshots on their Facebook group. The other thing the operational level has is it has fuel shortage or fuel availability, which I didn't really read through. I just noticed that it had that. It also has breakdown. So you can have units breaking down out in the desert, running out of fuel, and it probably affects your, at least strategic level, approach from the operational map point of view, which again is going to affect what's going to play out at the tactical level if you zoom in on some strategic location and play a full ASL scenario. I have no idea how many ASL scenarios you may have to play to finish out the operational level of the campaign game. Seems like it would be a pretty long process, but it probably, the time invested may pay off, because I think it would be a really interesting and epic struggle. I don't know when I'm going to get to this. I'm going to be honest, I have never played Desert Theater before. I've always wanted to. Hopefully someone picks this up soon and starts playing through it and lets everybody know how it is. But I think I've never seen anything like this in ASL. I think I've heard of people kind of doing side projects and tinkering with it, but I've never seen anyone publish something at this level. And it's very well laid out. It seems pretty clear, at least for me skimming the rules and looking through the charts and whatnot on the basics of how it works. I think it's extremely innovative, personally, and I hope we see more things like this instead of, there's nothing wrong with the typical campaign game like I just described to you, but it's kind of one that it just gets reused for different historical things. I think this is a new take. That's an interesting, fresh take, and I hope people check it out. If you want to check out their modules, they have 2. Brevity Assault is one, Piazza Ridge is the other, and it's a more traditional module, and I'll do a video for that later. Their website is advancingfire.com. They're working on 2 more modules. One of them is Kursk. I can't remember what the other one is. I think they're both Eastern Front type modules, while these are North Africa and Piazza Ridge is in Sicily. So check them out. I think they did a great job for their first products. My only, I guess, not really complaint or gripe, just something that I hope they change in previous or following printings of their games, is maybe a little thicker weight on the paper for the map. That's about it. Other than the quality, I know everyone's on a budget these days. I think they did a great job. So if this interests you, go check it out. I think you can still order it at least from game shops, and I think directly from them. I pre-ordered it, but I'm sure they printed extras, so you can get in on it and grab one of these if you want. So until next time, Rolo.